everybody. We are back actually with one of our speakers for the new and improved DEO Virtual Summit coming up here in just a few weeks with Dr. Eric Robin. So, Eric, we did this interview a few months ago, getting really excited to be in Phoenix. Obviously, things have changed, but I would say what you were going to talk about has become even more relevant because myself knowing your story, you have a story that's full of overcoming adversity. And in fact, you've integrated it deep into kind of your entrepreneurial psyche. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So welcome. We won't have you do another introduction, but welcome. How have you been in all of this? And what are you thinking about as far as how this plays into the dentist kind of entrepreneurial journey?
Jake, it's great seeing you, buddy. And I just want to add that the only thing that the world's going to miss out on is being at a great resort in Phoenix. The reality is that this is going to be an even deeper conference. I don't know if your members and your attendees have had a chance to see how awesome and integrated these conferences are now becoming. But dude, there's some super high value that people are going to get. So, but you know, to your point, it's amazing that when I look back on my life and my experience and my DSO journey, functionally, it's really crappy events that were far more valuable than the statistics and the things that we planned on every day, right? Every single one of us like have a plan, and yet life screws up our plans at so many different corners. There's personal issues as well as professional issues that have a far greater impact on our overall outcomes than all the stuff we planned on and all the data points that we had been preparing for. So we're going to talk a lot about that because that's not just my journey. That's the reality of everybody's journey. And when you're able to get to the other end of it and look back, what you really recognize is that those points that were so crappy were actually the greatest opportunities that forced you through these sometimes painful transitions. It's like the whole caterpillar becoming the butterfly. Like you go through this process that really kind of sucks being all trapped and bound there, but on the other side you emerge as something new that you didn't anticipate, with new powers, new abilities, and a new trajectory. Holy crap, look at what everybody just got hit with. One of the most powerful events that we've seen in recorded history because of the magnitude of what's happened. When something like this is so powerful, we're talking about a massive amount of kinetic energy that's generated, right? And so with more energy comes more potential on the other side. The question, Jake, is whether we're going to capitalize on that energy. And functionally, I believe it's a choice for each of us as to how we respond.
So again, I'm really excited to have you here for this during this time because maybe you can walk us through so people can kind of understand where you're coming from and that you can relate, because you did sell your DSO 6 or 7 months ago, which is a whole arduous process in itself.
Yeah.
But what are some of the, I guess I don't want to say lowest points, but toughest points you've had in your past 7 or 8 years that you look back on now? But what were some of those really, really challenging times you had?
I mean, Jake, I'm on my second story. My first story was $12 million of value that was built up and that was destroyed overnight in a regulatory lawsuit. I went from something that I thought was my life and my future, my career, to literally zero, and had to start from scratch with no value, right? Like, imagine, and I mean, like, that's a, hey, we're on top of the world to, and we've got nothing sort of situation. No paycheck, nothing at all, right? And so I went through that crap, and that's like a defining process that changes everything in your life and affects everything. It affected my relationship with my family. It reflected, I mean, I don't even recognize the person that I was before that event, right? And I know a lot of us have that exact same experience with other events in our lives. Other stuff, you know, in the midst of trying to create a transaction and an exit for me from my company, then we get hit consecutive years by tropical storms and hurricanes that shut down offices. And like, I mean, and I'll tell you what everybody's experiencing right now with like emergency responses and how long it takes for the government to pay and stuff. Dude, we went through crap like that years ago, and it was crazy. It was such an incredible education. You know, all these insurance products and stuff like that, business interruption insurance, all these other things that I was counting on that never showed up, right? And we were literally we were literally hours away from being completely bankrupt as a company after going through that stuff. I turned over my entire executive team at least 3 full times, and probably more than that. So like, life is just a number of these events, and yet when I look back, as painful as they were, those were those transformative moments where I shifted, where our team shifted, where we had to learn new skills, where we had to change our trajectory. And in the end, we finished beyond where we ever planned. So just because these things are painful doesn't mean, and just because it changes our plan doesn't mean that the ultimate outcome isn't at least as good or better than what we had originally thought we would receive.
Yeah, I've heard somebody describe it as, you build a bus and the bus is driving and you love the bus. This like, you got your right people on the bus and the seats in the bus and it's this beautiful bus, DSO bus, and then it crashes into a wall and it's no more. And rather than, kind of, there's an air time to mourn that bus. It's about building a new bus. Right. And so that's
Yeah.
what we all got to do is build a, a new vision. So I'm excited. One of the things I love about you most is that you've taken all those, and it seems like, whether it's your goal or not, you just are putting yourself in a, more content, more joyous, happier situation almost every day or year that goes by. So that's what we'll dig into is, how you're taking this adversity, what it was, what you did about it, this in really crisis management, and how you've used that to change yourself to be a better person so that you're showing up better for your family. If I could sum it up, I think that's what we were going to go into.
Well, I guess that's what I'll talk about now, Jake, now that you're telling me what to do. That's seriously, it's the truth, because that is the beauty in what it is. And that's why I love this group so much. The DEO, whether it's attendees or members, like, this is a group that really understands and has a purpose and a trajectory that's far greater than just what they're doing from 9 to 5 every single day. And so really being able to connect our lives to our businesses and to create something that's synchronous and filled with joy. That's what I live for.
Awesome. Well, we will see you in not too long virtually, and it's going to be amazing. You're right. We've innovated, and it's going to be a pretty cool experience. So we will
Hey,
see you
great job,
there.
Jake. Thank you. I'm
All
looking forward to
right.
it, buddy.
See ya.
Bye-bye.